Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Podcast. Today is Wednesday, January 19th. Yes, January 19th. And with us today, we have our panel, Lisa Lawson. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, everybody.
John Kolb. Good morning, John.
Morning, everyone.
And Mr. Harvey Freed. Hey, Harv.
Good morning.
With us also, special guest star today, special guest we brought on the show. You've heard him live on the 97.1 FM Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, and also a frequent guest on our podcast on Wednesdays, heard now for maybe the next 3 or 4 weeks at 11:30 as opposed to 11 o'clock. We have from RE/MAX, Mr. Matt Bush. Hi, Matt.
Hey, well, thanks for having me. I always enjoy being on the show. I think I want to be in the credits sometime soon.
There you go. And as a matter of fact, Happy New Year to you. And what's going on in your neck of the woods there, my man?
You know, I think we had a little bit of a slumber party with buyers. A lot of people kind of pulled out of the market mid-December. Weather's not always helping us right now. But honestly, it's a great time to buy a house. We're seeing inventory levels at almost 2 months worth of supply, which I don't know if we've seen in 2 or 3 years. So we've got a lot of houses on the market, relatively speaking. So, you know, I'm always preaching to my first time home buyers. Now's a great time. You're not going to be fighting with boomers who don't want to, they're already in Florida. They don't want to be moving during the snow. So the younger generation, now is really the time.
Yeah, Matt, we're going to talk about that. As a matter of fact, in this week's Crain's Detroit Business, there seems to be some good news. We're going to get into the hardcore reality of what's going on with interest rates in probably my next segment. But the good news is, according to Crain's, according to you, according to the realtor community, it seems there are more listings. And to put a cherry on top of that, it seems landlords now are listing properties to try to take care of their profits in these record high property values and sales. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so there's a few things going on. You know, there's that rent relief that's kind of stuck in a pipe somewhere that a lot of landlords haven't been getting. A lot of landlords have been paying their mortgage the last 12 to 18 months without receiving rent. So there's a big loss they're trying to recoup there. Like you said, property values are at an all-time high. As someone who works with a lot of landlords myself, I think a lot of landlords realized over the last 24 months, it's a lot easier to maintain less doors, actually less roofs with more doors. So a lot of people are taking their 2, 5, 10 units, and instead of having 5 different addresses, maybe rolling them into a bigger investment like an apartment building to where it's just one roof, one boiler to maintain. You can, one stop and you're picking up rent from all your utilities. A lot of people are also moving into the nicer areas. Royal Oak, Ferndale, Grosse Pointe is seeing a lot of influx in investors where they can command a higher rent with a different kind of tenant who's going to be more on the professional side as opposed to just a smaller investment. So there's a lot of intricacies going on, but it does start with property values, all-time highs. We're seeing the average go from about 52,000 to about 82,000 in Wayne County. So big numbers moving up.
So as you mentioned, normal winter activity seems to have settled in. We had, when you say a little bit of a lull, I attribute to the holidays. Lisa, we're going to go to you. We attribute the lull. It is now normal winter activity, although it doesn't feel like winter right now. It's 42 degrees outside. But normal activity seems to have settled in, Lisa.
Yeah, there's always like a little bit of slowdown. I think people get all caught up in the hustle and bustle and all their obligations at the holidays. And so they keep putting this on the back burner. I have a lot of people who called me before Christmas and said, as soon as the new year is over, we'll get started, because they just don't want to be dealing with it when they have someone else going on. So I think that's a lot of the slowdown. And normally, January is when we usually get an uptick in refis. People start getting those bills of all the money they spent and start a little bit freaking out, want to see where they can save. We're still getting those calls, but it's super important, and I've mentioned it before, to get that review because rates are going up. So, in the past, you maybe could have waited until it was more convenient for yourself when you had more time. Right now, unfortunately, that isn't the case. So if this is something that you've ever wanted to review, or even you just want to make the phone call and see if it's something that makes sense, you really shouldn't be waiting, because every day that you wait, you could be costing yourself money, and that doesn't make sense at all. So,
yeah. Hey, John Kolb, spring's right around the corner. I'm talking about 75 days away. John, what are your realtors telling you about more listings coming on the market in April and March and April?
Well, I think we're going to have a lot of the same issues that we had last year with low inventory. I think you're going to have more inventory on there that's going to be some crappier homes. But the good homes that sell quickly are going to be in small demand or small supply, which is going to put the bidding market going as well. I think you get a lot of these people who are late to the ball game who think that they can put their house on the market and make 50 grand more than they normally could, and their house is a piece of crap. It's just not going to happen with that kind of house. The house that Harv, I'm fired up. The house that you want to get on the market is the house that you can get into. You don't have to do very much to move in ready, great neighborhood. And that people, it's more turnkey. And those are the homes that are going to fly off the market. Those are the homes that are going to be bidding wars. But if you think you can put that 700 square foot, no basement, one car garage on the market and make 50 grand more than what it's actually worth, I think you're short-sighted.
Maybe you can, John, maybe you can't. And just so everybody knows out there, crappy properties, the term crappy is a mortgage banking term exclusive to John Kolb. So we just want to let everybody know that out there. Harvey Freed, we got to get into some hardcore talk right now. And I'm going to go to you first because sometimes you tend to be a little bit hardcore.
Oh, boy.
I want everybody to mark down this date. Matt, you need to take some notes. Lisa, John especially, and Harvey Freed. Today is the day that I am proclaiming interest rates are never coming down to previous levels. Never. That is a long time. Never. So, Harvey, right now, January 19th, 2021. Mark this date down. It's been coming for a long time. Rates are not going to come down. That's the hardcore truth. I'm saying we'll never see lower again. You're first up on the panel. What are your thoughts?
I'll go against it. Just because it's sort of like that Tiger Woods thing. Was Tiger Woods ever going to come back and win another, Masters or some big tournament? So I'm going to go against it here. And whether or not interest rates are going to be lower next year, I agree with that. These rates are climbing. They're going to continue to climb this year. Families want to get into houses, and Matt's dealing with the inventory issue. There's always going to be renters out there. And these renters, including the young couple I had in last night, Matt, they don't want to pay $1,300 a month. And if they do, they want to have a house. If they can buy an entry-level house for $160,000, that's what they want to do. Harry, interest rates are still at all-time lows. I think they're headed up. There might be another year or two before we ever see them lower than they're at today. Maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years, something catastrophic. Maybe another pandemic, Harry, that's worse than we could ever imagine. I'll take for now, just deal with what's in front of us today and live each day to your best. So get locked in. If you want to buy a house, rates are still at all-time lows.
That is probably 90% of the answer I was looking for. Awesome, Harvey. You got a 90 on a test. Probably never got a 90 on a test in your life, but today you did. Lisa Lawson, what say you? Rates are not coming down, not coming down.
I tell people all the time, it's not an inclined plane. It doesn't start here and go straight in a line. It's a jagged line. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down. So yes, we're saying that where rates are going up. Does that not mean that tomorrow the rate might not be slightly better than it is today? No, that's not what we're saying. It's not exactly, like I said, it doesn't go always straight. You have, many highs and lows, but the overall trend for sure is increasing rates. The government's come in and said they're planning on increasing the short-term rate. And yes, even though that isn't a direct correlation, it does influence mortgage rates. They're not buying mortgage-backed securities. The government isn't anymore like they were, which was artificially keeping our rates low. So that program's expired. They're not doing it. And guess what? Rates are starting to increase. So, and there's no talk about bringing that program back. They did that to help us out. And that's great. But the market does have to correct itself. We have to get back to normal. So I think if you're looking to do something, now is the time to do it, whether it's refinancing or purchasing. It doesn't mean, like I said, doesn't mean that you won't ever get a lower rate in a month from now, because there might be a day where it dropped a little bit, but the overall trend is increasing, and don't take the chance. Get yourself locked in and do it now.
Wow, that's such a good response. That's about like a 99.5. Lisa Lawson at 99.5, and she's used to getting 100%. So I probably marked her off. I probably marked her off half just because I want to continue the conversation with Mr. John Kolb. John Kolb, it's a slippery slope. Rates go down a little bit, but when they start going up, they go up really quickly. Today on January 19, 2022, I proclaim that you will never see rates as low as 2020 and 2021 again in our lifetime. What do you think?
Well, let's hope not. Let's hope that we don't have to go through, what causes those rates to go down is a scare in the market and an adverse effect that's going on in the world. Let's hope that we never have to go through this crap mortgage term again. But you know what? I feel like we're on the way out. So, let's get inflation under control. Let's get these rates leveled out so that we know what we're working with, and we can get people all on the same page. When you send somebody over a rate at 3.75 yesterday and they say, whoa, I was expecting something in the twos. And I said, well, you're about a year off. Nice job keeping up with current times. Rates are rates. If you're going to bitch about, yes, another mortgage banking term, if you're going to complain about a rate at 3.5 and it's now 3.75 or 4 and you can't afford the house at that, maybe you shouldn't buy a home then. Just,
ding, 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 ding. John Kolb hits it right on the head. Rates are rates. What's the difference if you're buying a home? There you go. I am so proud of this panel this morning. Harvey Freed, Lisa Lawson, John Kolb. So what about rates? So what about the hardcore truth that they're never going back to where they were? Look ahead, Harvey Freed said. Look at now and do what you got to do now. Lisa Lawson said, you know what? We've been telling you forever they're going to go up. All right, you should be prepared. John Kolb said, you know what? Maybe you shouldn't think about buying a house if you can't afford it. Listen, that's the hardcore truth. January 19th, 2022. Here are the reasons, everybody out there. And Matt, I'm going to let you chime in after I give you a little tidbit of information here. January 19th, 2022. Here's the why rates are going up. As John says, because there were catastrophic events going on are the reason why. Bad news is good news for rates. Okay, but there's another kind of bad news right now. Inflation is a major concern now. This is not transitory. Look up the term transitory. They thought it was going to be part-time. Inflation is not transitory. Supply shortages, they thought that was going to be temporary as well. Wrong. That is driving all goods and services up. They're going higher. A projected 4 to 5 rate hikes starting in March. Okay, if you take a look at the 10-year bond, it's been going up steadily, which means mortgage rates are going up. So that is the why. Matt, I want your comment as the realtor who's somebody on the street every day. When I make the statement, Harry Gland says January 19th, rates will never go back down to 2020-21 levels. What do you think?
4 is the new 3. Let's put it that way, right? So, and I think that's where my industry is really going to need to be better, because someone's going to say, hey, let's price this house at this. And I've got to be like, hey, we could have done that 2 years ago when interest rates were lower, but buyers' buying power is going down. So if we're having these bidding wars, there's going to be less money to have a bidding war with as interest rates rise. So that $400,000 house in Macomb Township or Shelby is probably going to trade now at 380 to 375 because there just aren't the buying power has fallen. So those people that were thinking, one more year, let me do this small project that turned into a redoing of floors and painting last summer. They're going to have lost $25,000 in equity. Now there's going to be some agents who say, oh, we can still do it. We can still do it. And that's where my industry's really got to come and say, listen, we had this opportunity. We have the way we're going to maximize it is doing it this way, because these are the true factors that, like you said, that these numbers aren't realistic anymore. So we've got to.
No, they're not. But it's like this, Matt. When people say, well, I thought rates were still 3 or 3.25 on a 30-year fix. Well, you can't go buy that $375,000 house now. You can't go back in time and buy it for $275,000. So what's the difference in philosophy? The difference in philosophy is everybody always thinks that they should get what was in the past, as opposed to, as Harvey said, and I'm going to go to Harvey, living in reality. Reality right now, Harvey Freed, most residential real estate experts, I'm glad we have Matt on the show. We're going to go to you first on this. most residential real estate experts predict a steady and strong sales year, Harvey Freed.
Yeah, it's going to be a great year, Harry. Again, we're talking about all-time lows now. Pre-pandemic interest rates prior to March of 2020 were 4.25 and above. Again, rates are still underneath those marks. So 2019 had really started off strong, Matt. If you remember what a strong year 19 was. And right at January, going into the pandemic into March, boy, January, February, March, they were huge years. Had the scare in April and then the shutdown in May. But yeah, it's going to just continue, Harry. We're in a good industry. There's a lot of families doing the right thing. We would like to see, I'm going to put a little special note out there, more of the self-employed buyers who are business owners. They make up more than 60% of the families out there. Self-employed families, get your ducks in a row. Really, if you want to buy a house for your family, get your tax returns done ahead of time. It's a 2-year average. Your income might be a little bit lower from the previous years, but you should be post-pandemic numbers. Get your tax returns done. Meet with your CPA so that you're able to use your income to buy a house in today's environment.
Lisa and Matt, you guys work well together. You've worked for many years together. Most residential real estate experts, Lisa, predict a steady and strong year. You and Matt are working together. Let's talk about your buyers, the demand that you have with buyers, and then we'll segue right into Matt. Let's talk about working with a plethora of buyers that are out there.
Yeah, I mean, Matt and I worked together for many, many years. And I'm, excited to continue to work with him. And we have, just like every other people who work together, there's challenges. We have people who have unrealistic expectations. And even though Matt and I always try to set those expectations to be realistic, tell them what they can expect. Sometimes, we always say, well, my brother's uncle, they got it for this, or my, sister's, aunt did it this way. And it's, it can be frustrating. You have to realize we're only giving this advice because we've been here, we've done that. We have years of experience under our belt, and we want the outcome that you want. We want you to close. We want you to get the house of your dreams and turn it into your home. We're not trying to be difficult by any means, but this market can be difficult because it changed somewhat quickly. Rates were a lot lower just over a month ago. So people are getting a lot of misinformation, or, so-and-so closed and their rate was this. Well, yes, that they closed 5 weeks ago. That was the rate. And if they closed 5 weeks ago, they probably locked that loan a month before that. So you're talking 2.5 months old, and we want to make sure people are getting correct and current information. And I think right now, between the pricing of homes and the way rates are, there's a lot of misinformation out there and people are getting a little confused.
So Matt, with the plethora of buyers out there and the pent up demand for housing, you must see a lot of buyers. What are the buyers' expectations right now as we sit here today?
It really depends on what price point. If I'm moving in the 400s, buyer expects, hey, I'm just going to bring my toothbrush, but everything else should be finished. If you've got a first-time home buyer at that 150, 160 price point, they're a lot more willing to do work. They've heard horror stories about their friends last summer and the summer before, losing out on deals, spending money over appraised value. So it seems that people are on the lower end are a lot more flexible, willing to do the work, willing to think about what the room would look like with a different paint color. The kitchen could have new cabinets in it and countertops, as opposed to kind of nitpicky as you see on the higher end of folks. But I think that's just in general. I think these new buyers that are moving into the market, they kind of want to buy something that's a little bit uglier, because I feel like they want to put in that sweat equity. They want to buy those John Kolb crap houses and really make it theirs, as opposed to, buy someone else's vision. I've seen a lot of really bad flips in the last, 6 to 12 months, where someone just buys way too much quartz or watches way too much HGTV, and they just roll the same gray paint, the same white countertops, and they expect just by doing that, they can add $50,000 to $80,000 on a house. And buyers are just like, I'm going to have to redo this. So let's just go buy something, $100,000 cheaper, and I'll do it myself.
So, Matt, are you telling me, Matt, and I'm going to go to you, John, but are you telling me that I'm redoing my entire kitchen with like white and gray marble with white counters, and my bathrooms now, white and all that? You tell me that's not happening with that nice white singular tub? Are you telling me that's not happening? That's all you see right now. It's all, and you know what? And for what I'm paying, it better better last me another 70 years. Moving into that, John Kolb, your favorite topic, millennials, but also one of your favorite targets, baby boomers, as I am one of them. Boomers are selling, right? Boomers are selling their homes. They're either trading down, meaning they want a first floor master, they want a ranch, they don't want to climb the stairs anymore because, John, we're getting older now, and I don't want to have to fall and break my hip. So we're selling our houses, but you know who's buying our houses, John? Your favorite age category, millennials. So boomers are selling, millennials are buying. What do you have to say about that? What are you doing? Look at you.
Wait.
He's acting like a millennial.
I'm texting.
Yeah, I know.
I don't want to talk on the
That's
phone.
Gen Z. That's after the millennials. Those are the younger.
Go ahead, John. Millennials are buying, right?
I mean,
they're buying
Harry,
boomers' homes.
You've got to get, to one level so you don't fall down the stairs. You also need to get to that supported help so that someone can get your diaper on and off you. I understand it, why you're going to sell your home. These millennials, or Gen Z, whatever you want to call them, they just don't want to have the conversation. They want everything to be done, text, email. I don't even know how to fax. What's a fax machine? It's annoying, but hey, we're going to deal with you. We've got all the tools to make it work. Harry still plugs his headphones into a wall. It looks like, I don't know. And
that's the new rage too. Corded headphones. That's trendy now.
Oh yeah. And so, we've got all the tools and technology to work with anybody that we can. Just the other day, I had a client come in and we sat down and we went through and did the application together because she was uncomfortable trying to do it on her own. We get the documents in person. That's just what we do. That's the school of thought that we all came from. But at the same point, we're with a company that has, technology at top of mind, and we're going to have the apps. We're going to do the texting. We're going to do the emailing. But we do need to still have the conversations. We still need to have that one-on-one talk over the phone so that we make sure that we're understanding everything that you got going on, and we can tell you exactly what we're going to need. Just text back and forth is not going to work in my book. And if that's the case where you're only going to do that, maybe I send you to somebody like, I don't know, Sally Sue, who is just getting into the business and has a million long MLS, because she's going to know how to text and correspond with you a little bit better.
Well, John, I love angry John. I love irritable John. I love John vocabulary, John, using words like crappy. I do love that. Harvey Freed, I'm going to go to you right now because this week on the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, we have our panelist, Matt Bush, coming on. Harvey, we've been doing the show now 23 years. You've been in this industry. As I look around the panel, you're the second oldest dude on the panel right now. So with all of your experience, it's great to get back in the studio, isn't it? Don't you love getting back in the studio, letting everybody know what's going on, doing the show, going ahead and passing on all the consumer advocacy tips that we've done? Give us a little talk about your past 23 years of being on the radio show and giving so much value to consumers out there.
Harry, it's a two-edged sword, they say. It's been a lot of fun over 23 years, helping really the first-time home buyers. And then what we realized over the years was many people really don't read the purchase agreements or follow the process of a home mortgage or even the home buying process. So it became very important to get people like Matt Bush, qualified real estate agents. I don't care if you've been doing it for a long time. I like Matt told me this a while ago. I don't care if you've been a realtor for 30 years or a mortgage person for 30 years. Do you have 5 minutes right now to talk to me? And I've always, when Matt told me that a couple of years back, I still use that motto. I still think it's about great communication. And Harry, whether we're on the radio giving some free advice, some consumer advocate advice, the best part about our job is closing the deals and having great communication with all parties. I'll leave you with guys with that one.
Hey, Matt. Harvey likes to get on the air. We like getting on there. We like helping people. Once we help people, one of the biggest things we tell people is when they sign that purchase agreement, Matt Bush, that's a legal document. There are timelines, there are dates, and there are things that have to be done in a timely fashion and lived up to. There are inspection timelines, there are appraisal timelines. There are, if you're going to give a waiver or put in an addendum, there are certain things, are procedural things, documentation things. It's a contract, right? So what are you seeing right now that has been the biggest advantage in this market or the biggest disadvantage in this market when it comes to a purchase agreement and all the addendums that are coming into play?
One thing that I really started towards the end of last year was taking more time to sit with a buyer or a seller, well, mostly a buyer, before we begin the process and just setting those expectations. And when you lay out the process and tell them from start to finish, all the little things, explain it to them, ask them if they have any questions. I feel like when it comes time to write that purchase agreement or to cut that EMD check, that deposit check, or to order the appraisal, we've already preempted them. We sat down, 3 months ago, we figured out what you're looking for, where you're looking, what your budget is, and you've given me these inputs and I've given you these outputs. All right, so when we find this house, we're going to write an offer like this. We're going to have a 7-day time frame to inspect. We're going to have, 2 weeks it's going to take us to get that appraisal report back. And then a week after that, you're going to get at least all your docs to make sure that we get that clear to close, and we close in a month, 28 to 30 days. So it's all about setting that time frame and that those expectations as to how to be successful. But that's also the problem is so many people will just rush to show a house, not have any sort of expectations with it, because you can, press phone, see house, with all these technologies, and you miss that time to explain the process, to put somebody into a position to be successful. And then when that time comes, you're kind of muddling over what you're doing, how you're re-explaining something, and you don't really ever get a clear picture. So it's both the availability and taking that point. And then some people like John, his Gen Zers, they don't want to have that. They just say, I see this house, let's go see it. And I want it. And they don't know what goes into it.
Yeah, Matt, I'm going to say this to you, and I'm going to give this analogy. Harvey loves my analogies. We're face to face. We like the face to face. I know Harvey does. I like the face to face and getting in front of people. It's okay to get information. You want to go ahead on the internet. You want to do, but it's like a dating app, right? Don't you really want to see something face to face before you go ahead and start investing all of your time into a situation, let alone in this case signing a purchase agreement? Lisa
Hashtag
Lawson,
no filter.
Lisa Lawson, I'm going to go to you, and then we're going to go to John Harvey. Matt, we'll give you the last word, but I want to wrap it up today. Today is January 18th. We have Matt Bush on this podcast. We're going to have Matt Bush on the Hardcore Radio Show this Saturday, 97.1 FM, at 9 to 10 in the morning. Matt's been a great guest. He'll always give you the hardcore truth on anything that we talk about. But Lisa, why don't we leave the people with something very, very fun, light, and lively today? It's beautiful outside, and you got to bring me back, because I am proclaiming today today is the day, January 19th, rates will never go as low as they were in 21 or 22 again. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. Rates will never go that low. So this is the time to get your current mortgage evaluated. If you're not looking to sell your home and get it listed with Matt, and you're looking to stay there, give us a call. The answer we might give you is you're in a great position. There's nothing else we can do to improve your situation. You might be planning on moving in 3 years. It doesn't make sense to do XYZ, but make the call, because if we don't make it now, rates are going to continue to rise and the benefit you may have had may be lost. So, New Year's resolution, I always tell people, get your financial house in order. Everyone worries about their health, but make those calls. And so we can let you know. Like I said, we might have good news. You might have nothing to do at all, but you'll know. And if not, we might save you some money.
There you go. Mr. John Kolb.
Hey, we say it all the time. Just give us a call, free consultations. Let us take a look at what you got going on. Like Lisa said, we're here to help. And if you don't want to take advantage of it, we understand, but you're missing the boat.
There you go. And Mr. Matt Bush, the host, the guest. You are the guest of the day, Matt. January 19th. I'm telling you, people are going to remember this day. This day will go down in infamy.
I tell you what, Harry, you said it best. This is a face-to-face business, and that's why it'll never go out of style. You can automate your cars, but you can't automate, a personal relationship. You can't automate advice. The one great thing that's going to keep us in business is John's friends, the Gen Zers. They don't want to read anything. They want something explained to them. So we're always going to be here, whether it's buying, selling, refinancing. people are going to need the advocacy that we offer, the advice that we can provide. And that's what's going to set us apart. It might not always be the news you want to hear, but it's the news that you need to hear to put you in a better position, be it short-term, long-term, or indefinite.
So everybody out there, you heard the key word in Matt's final words for the day: relationships. Relationships take precedence over everything else. You are always going to go ahead and you will benefit from personal relationships, talking to people, meeting face to face. Capital Mortgage Funding, along with Matt Bush from RE/MAX, personal service can never be overlooked. Customer service can never be overlooked. And strong advocacy. You have to have advocates on your behalf. So I'm going to say in conclusion, I know those are the two words everybody was looking for. I don't know where Harvey went, but that's another show for another day. This has been Matt Bush from RE/MAX, Lisa Lawson, John Kolb, Harry Glantz from Capital Mortgage Funding, for our producer director, Roberto Beauchene. The Hardcore Mortgage Podcast brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, always powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, equal housing lender, NMLS number 2289. That's for our compliance people. We will see you Saturday morning, 9 to 10, 97.1 FM. Talk to you soon.